All right, let's try this again, shall we? It's still giving me the same message, but I changed every. Matter of fact, I went out and looked at my settings. Nothing needed to be changed. Oh, YouTube, you're such a trickster. Nothing needed to be changed at all. Everything is just the way it should be. I just got a false reading. So let's start this again. Happy Saturday! Happy Saturday. And happy birthday to all the leap year babies whose birthday is February 29th, which is today, February 29th, 2020. To all those people that only have a birthday every 4 years, happy birthday! Happy birthday to you. Today is, I said that already, February 29th, 2020. It is now 7:23, 10 minutes later from where I originally started, but you don't know a thing because that one will be deleted. So it's all new to you. Okay, so we are going to do something special today for all the leap year babies out there. We're going to read the Bible because that's what I do every morning. I read the Bible. This is my New Believers Bible. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. New Living Translation, compact version. First Steps for New Christians. I don't think I've ever read the back of this. I'm just going to read it real quick just to let y'all know, like, what's the difference? What's the difference between your Bible? Well, according to this, my dear friends, it says, welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. A great adventure awaits you as you begin your walk with Christ. But you may be asking, where do I go from here? That's why the New Believer's Bible is for you. The easy to understand and accurate text of the New Living Translation makes this Bible perfect for both reading and in-depth study. Pastor, author, and evangelist Greg Laurie has written a series of study notes in 4 devotional study tracks to help you get into God's Word and start growing. There are cornerstones that cover the basics of Christian belief. Here you will learn about the Trinity, angels, Satan, heaven, hell, forgiveness, peace, joy, love, and other essential teachings of the Bible. First steps help you know God and His plan for you. Discover how to know you are saved. Find the right church. Study the Bible. Resist temptation. Talk with God, and much more. Off and Running shows you how you can enjoy God's blessing and direction in all areas of your life: career, marriage, family, finances, and relationships. And Big Questions. Tackle those difficult issues you may be dealing with right now as a new believer. Joy, peace, and security are God's gifts for all Christians. Let the New Believer's Bible help you immediately enjoy the many benefits of being a member of God's family. Yeah, I never read the back, so I just thought I'd do a little introduction to the Bible, this particular Bible, and why this is different from my other Bibles. Hot diggity dog. I remember, you know how I'm always talking about my study Bible? I brought it home with me. Not that I'm going to read from it, but in case I come across something that's like not already explained in here, I got my study Bible. I brought my study Bible home because I keep referring to it. So you know what? I might leave this one here, and I might just take one of these other ones to work, like the little New Testament one or something. I might take one of the smaller ones. But look at that! Wow! I brought my study Bible home, the Quest Study Bible. And you know what? I am going to do something special today. I'm going to switch it up for all those leap year babies. Even though I just did the introduction reading, that's okay. Just so you can hear how different but how similar these two are, I'm going to read from the Quest Study Bible today. Wow! How different. That's new and exciting, right? Right. But yeah, let me show you real quick. So it's basically the same kind of breakdowns. I just happen to have it open to this page. This is how this Bible is broken down. So I'm looking at something in Daniel. And there are like little commentaries at the bottom. Oh, my nails are dirty. There's little commentaries at the bottom that break down things like this covers Daniel 11:2-45. And then on the sides, there are other little pieces to like questions about what you have just read. I don't know if it explains the same thing in the beginning, like this is the book of Daniel, this is who wrote it, This is when it was made. Let me see real quick. Oh, yep. It's pretty much the same kind of layout. So this one says like, why should you read this book? Who wrote this book? To whom was it written and why? When was it written? What was happening in the world at this time? What to look for in Daniel? And then there's like a little historical chart at the bottom, like timeline of what was going on. So this one is really good. I would say if I had to like judge them or compare them, I would say this is just the way it says. It's for new believers. It does not have a whole lot of extras. It's a lot of easy to read and easy to understand language. And I don't want to say this stuff is left out, but I will say that it's a very simplified way. Like, let's say you have a college student who would explain something versus a high school student that would explain the same concept versus an elementary school student that would explain the concept. That college student is gonna use like big words, big, smart sounding words that are probably a lot more accurate. But the elementary student is saying the same thing. They're just saying it in the only simple way that they know how to do it. So this is like simple. That's the way I can put it. This is simple. And then this one, it's still simple, but it's got just a little bit more. So that would be like elementary. This would be like maybe middle school or high school. Anyway, just thought I'd compare those two. But yeah, let me read to you from McQuest Study Bible and see what is going on in Numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Apostles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Apostles. Let me stop. Okay. So let me do a quick recap of yesterday for anybody who may be new or just to catch myself up, refresh my memory. There was a lot of detailed naming of people. We had the different tribes. The tribes broken down by family names. They were supposed to like, okay, everybody, get with your family, camp under your own little banners. We're gonna do a head count, a census, and we got the tabernacle here. So when we start picking up and moving toward camp, because they're heading toward the promised land, you can't go there just in a day, or a couple of days. This is like some months on foot. So every time we pick up camp, we're gonna set down the tabernacle here. This tribe, you guys set up to the east. This tribe, you guys set up to the south. This tribe, you guys set up to the west. This tribe, you guys set up to the north. Oh, and you special people, you Levites that are gonna do all the priestly stuff, you guys are going to set up in the middle. You guys don't get counted as the rest because these are going to be like, are you strong enough and are you old enough to fight? And so if you're 20 years or older, we're going to count you in the census. But then to the Levites, the holy people, we're just going to do a head count of your babies because basically all of you guys are going to be, part of this inner worship, like the ushers and the deacons. I'm not calling them that. I'm just for reference so that I can understand. You guys are going to do all the holy stuff on the inside. You guys cover the tent. You guys cover the furniture, and you guys cover all the sacrificial stuff. You guys cover the, the structures and all that kind of stuff. So that's what was going on with the census. Dividing everybody, organizing everybody, and then letting them know, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And yeah, there was quite a few people. What was it, like 650,000? No, 603,550. And I compared it to the city of Fort Worth as of the 2017 census. I think it said it was 850,000 people in Fort Worth. Oh, the whole Fort Worth. So 200,000 less people. Let's say, how many people can fit in the stadium? Like 100,000 or something? Let's say the whole city of Fort Worth minus however many people can fit in the stadium. That's how many people was in this crew. Just cruising along in a little caravan. Well, not a little caravan, but a big caravan. So that's what was happening in Numbers 1 and Numbers 2. That was the census. Numbers 1 was talking about the census. Numbers 2, chapter 2, was arranging the tribal camps, depending on, who their people were or who their clan was and what leaders they had. And then chapter 3 was talking about the Levites, which was that special people that's already within the people set apart, God's people. And that was it. 1, 2, and 3, that was it. That's all I read yesterday. I guess so. 1, 2, and 3. Now that we're all caught up, let's jump in with the Quiz Bible, reading about the Kohathites. Who are the Kohathites? What in the world? Let me back up. Because like I said, this is just a little slightly more detailed than this one. I wanna touch on some of these topics, these questions that they're asking on the side. For example, how did God speak to Moses? That's a good question, don't you think? Yes, happy birthday to those who have a birthday every 4 years. I saw it, but I didn't read it. Sorry about that. So this is what the Quest Bible does. It's asking you questions to make you actually think about. It asks a little bit more questions than this one. So this is covering the recap from yesterday. How did God speak to Moses? Talk about Numbers 1:1. Because the first thing it says is, the Lord spoke to Moses in the tent of the meeting, also known as the tabernacle, in the desert of Sinai on the first day of the second month of the second year after the Israelites came out of Egypt, right? So it's like, how did God speak to Moses? On occasion, it seems Moses actually heard an audible voice. Refer to verse 8:7. Refer to chapter 7 and verse 89. Other times he may have experienced a mystical inner sensation or had a mental impression. God communicated with Moses more directly than with the other prophets who received visions or dreams. And then it refers you to Numbers 12, 6 through 8. In more than 20 ways and over 150 times, Numbers, the book of Numbers, records that God spoke to Moses. And then it's also making you ask the question, did God talk to Moses in audible voice? See chapter 7, 8 through 9. Here we go. And another question, what is the tent of meeting? The tent of meeting functioned as a worship place for people on the move. It was a small tent, 45 by 15 feet, situated on a space called the outer court, which is about half the size of the football field. Only the priests were allowed in the tent. Let me see another question here. Why did God order a census? I didn't even think about that. The census served as a draft. Israel's men were no longer slaves, but soldiers. Each of the 12 tribes probably commissioned officers to train the raw recruits. What's this question say? Why were 2 sons of Joseph listed in the census? Joseph's father Jacob had adopted Ephraim and Manasseh as his own. Yeah, that's right. That's right, when he was dying on the bed. I remember. That refers to Genesis 48, 5 through 6. Because the Levites were excluded from the census, the number of tribes was thus kept at 12. How many Israelites left Egypt? And this is referring to still chapter 1 and 46. Assuming that 1 woman and 2 children per male over 20 years old, the Israelite population was nearly 2.5 million. Hot dog. Why didn't God want the tribe of Levi counted in the census? Yeah, that's what I was asking. The census was linked to military service, like registering for the draft. God exempted the Levites from military service so they could care for the tabernacle and offer sacrifices. This spiritual support was the foundation to Israel's very existence. Right. I mean, the whole purpose was so they could reconnect with God and, come out of their sinful ways and get to the promised land. So they had to have these priests to keep things in order and, make these sacrifices. This spiritual support was foundational to Israel's very existence. Before they could achieve victory on the battlefield, they needed a right relationship with God. God's purpose for the Levites was to be the people's direct lifeline to God. What else we got? Why kill someone who wanted to come close to God? I was thinking that, but I didn't say it. Because God is holy, sin cannot survive in his presence. A sinner will die in the light and power of God's holiness except when God makes special provision. God's ultimate provision was Christ, but here he used the tents of the Levites to form a protective barrier around the tabernacle. The tents were to protect the people, not God, because they prevented the Israelites from accidentally wandering into God's holy presence. Let's see, why is Judah mentioned first? Talking about chapter 2 now. Though he was the fourth son of Jacob and Leah, Judah was given the place of honor among his brothers. Refers you back to Genesis 49 and 8. It was through the tribe of Judah that the Messiah came. And that refers you forward to Matthew chapter 1, 2, and 3. Why should we care about how the Israelites camped and traveled? Details of historical accounts sometimes may seem irrelevant to the hurried reader, but the lessons of history offer more than mere trivia. Here, for example, we can see the value God placed on an ordered society. This was not a haphazard mob traveling across the desert, but an organized nation. We also see that God positioned himself in the middle of his people, with all the tribes camped around the tabernacle. This meant that God had drawn closer to his people, coming down from Mount Sinai to the tent outside the camp. Well, I didn't think about it that way. He literally put himself in the middle of things. And finally, to the tabernacle within the camp. Let's see, this one is about chapters 2 and 3. How could Israel have an army this size when only 70 people entered Egypt? With an army this size, the total population is thought to have been about 2.5 million. This is truly a remarkable growth from the 70 who entered Egypt 400 years earlier. No other explanation can be given than that this was the fulfillment of God's promise to his people. Why such specific instructions on where the tribe should travel and camp? God's command for order served the same purpose as numbered seats do in a baseball or football stadium: safety, efficiency, and organization. Without it, the Israelites were a disorganized, unruly mob. With it came the discipline and character needed for the nation to be victorious in battle. Let's see, why do firstborn sons get special honor from God? In ancient cultures, the firstborn son occupied a special place of prominence in the family. They believed he symbolized the prime of human vigor and represented the entire offspring. God used a cultural custom during that time to set apart Israel's firstborn, signifying his special claim upon his people. Let's see, why would God command Moses to count the Levites after clearly forbidding him to count them? Now, see, I thought about this, but it's like one is a census for soldiers. Like I already thought that. He said, count these people in the census, all those 20 years and older that are able to fight. But these, he's not counting them in the soldiering fight. But let me see what the book says. This is a different census for a different purpose. The Levites were excluded from the first census because it served as a military draft. The military census only comprises males 20 years old and up. That's what I just said. Those of fighting age. This census, however, was for priestly service. Why not count newborns? Because of high infant mortality in the ancient Middle East. God had Moses count only the babies who were at least a month old and had a better chance of survival. Why were only males counted? There were generally only two reasons for taking a census in ancient Israel. One reason was to determine how many fighting men were available to defend the nation in a time of war. This explains why not all the males were counted, but only those old enough to fight. The other reason was to determine how many were available to serve the Lord in sanctuary service. This census counted all Levite males except those less than a month old, since Levites were exempt from military service. These two reasons for a census satisfied the nation's needs. The census was not intended to devalue women and, in fact, was considered an indicator of the total number of families, including women and children. Let's see what else we got. That question was already answered. Why penalize anyone who wanted to come close to God? That was in the why kill the people that come close. Okay, I think this is the last part. Why did God substitute the Levites in place of the firstborn from other tribes? Perhaps to keep families and clans together and to avoid the confusion that could have resulted from having a mix from different tribes in charge of priestly service and duties. God designated the Levites to handle the priestly duties and be substitutes for the firstborn of each family. Okay, now we're going to jump in. See, that's why I said this one got a little bit more meat to it. They did the census also back then. Yeah, isn't that interesting that even centuries and centuries ago, even before little baby Jesus was born, they did a census. And it wasn't for tax purposes. Oh, well, it kind of was. It kind of was because the tabernacle did have to have upkeep and maintenance. So it was certain pieces of silver per family, but it was mostly for military, as far as I can see. All right, now to these Kohathites. Who are the Kohathites? Kohathites. Chapter 4. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, take a census of the Kohathite branch of the Levites. Oh, okay. By their clans and families. Count all the men from 30 to 50 years of age who come to serve in the work in the tent of meeting. This is the work of the Kohathites in the tent of meeting, the care of the most holy things. When the camp is on the move, or when the camp is to move, Aaron and his sons are to go in and take down the shielding curtain and cover the ark of the testimony with it. Then they are to cover this with hides of sea cows. Spread a cloth of solid blue over that and put the poles in place. What in the world is a sea cow? Over the table of the presence, they are to spread a blue cloth and put on it the plates, dishes, and bowls, and the jars for drink offerings. The bread that is continually there is to remain on it. Over these, they are to spread a scarlet cloth, cover that with the hides of the sea cows, and put its poles into place. I cannot read any further without figuring out what in the world is a sea cow. Screen share time. Sea cow. I'm thinking a walrus, but I just never heard that, and I never heard that in Bible school, Bible study. What in the world is a sea cow? What is a biblical sea cow exactly? That's what I want to know. An extinct mammal? Sea cow, Hydrodamalus gigas, also called Steller's cow, was a very large aquatic mammal, now extinct, that once inhabited near-shore areas of the Commander Islands in the Bering Sea. Steller's sea cows were wiped out by hunters in the 18th century, less than 30 years after they were first discovered by Arctic explorers. Oh, wow. See if I can find some imagery here. Interesting. I think that's what I was thinking of. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Oh, why does it look like I'm buffering over there? Hopefully I'm not. The giant cow that swam. The giant cow that swam. See, I put sea cow and I put Bible, and that's what I've got. I can't remember what these are called, but because there's some of these that are still alive nowadays, but I can't remember what they're called. So this is like a more of a waterproof type of manatee. That's what it's called, a manatee. Sea cows, manatee, and Sirenia. All right. And there's numbers again. Hey, I'll settle right here. So we got coverings of the tabernacle. We got sea cows or manatee or dugong skins. We've got ram skin dyed red. Well, it says scarlet in here, but red. We've got goat's hair right here. We've got fine twined linen here. So that's what's going on with the tabernacle. All right. That's what's going on with the tabernacle here. So let me pick it back up. Let's see, I left off at verse 7. Over the table of the presence they're to spread a blue cloth and put on it plates, dishes, and bowls, and the jars for drink offerings. The bread that is continually there is to remain on it. Over these are to spread a scarlet cloth, cover that with the hides of sea cows, and put its poles in place. They are to take a blue cloth and cover the lampstand, that is for light, together with its lamps, its wick trimmers, and trays, and all its jars for the oil used to supply it. Then they are to wrap it and all its accessories in a covering of hides of sea cows and put it on a carrying frame. Okay, this is basically packaging instructions. You know, when you're getting ready to move and you wrap everything in bubble wrap and put it in boxes with peanuts. Yeah, that's what's going on here, minus the peanuts. Verse 11, over the gold altar, they are to spread a blue cloth and cover that with the hides of sea cows and put its poles in place. They are to take all the articles used for ministering in the sanctuary, wrap them in a blue cloth, cover that with the hides of sea cows, and put them on a carrying frame. They are to remove the ashes from the bronze altar and spread a purple cloth over it. Then they are to place on it all the utensils used for ministering at the altar, including the fire pans, meat forks, shovels, and sprinkling bowls. Over it they are to spread a covering of hides of sea cows and put poles in its place. After Aaron and his sons have finished covering the holy furnishings and all the holy articles, and when the camp is ready to move, the Kohathites are to come to do the carrying, but they must not touch the holy things, or they will die. The Kohathites are to carry those things that are in the tent of the meeting. I think I saw another picture somewhere. There we go. So it looks like these are the Kohathites. Yeah. Numbers 4. Take a census of the Kohathite branch. After Aaron and his sons have finished covering the holy furnishing and all the holy articles, and when the camp is ready to move, the Kohathites are to come to do the carrying, but they must not touch the holy things or they will die. The Kohathites are to carry those things that are in the tent of the meeting. Verse 16, Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, is to have charge of the oil for the light, the fragrant incense, the regular grain offering, and the anointing oil. He is to be in charge of the entire tabernacle and everything in it, including its holy furnishings and articles. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, see that the Kohathite tribal clans are not cut off from the Levites, so that they may live and not die when they come near the most holy things. Do this for them. Aaron and his sons are to go into the sanctuary and assign to each man his work and what he is to carry. But the Kohathites must not go in to look at the holy things, even for a moment, or they will die. Now, coming up next is the Gershathites. Gershathites. Verse 21. Check in with my live stream. All right. The whales replaced them. Yeah, whales and blubber. I'm thinking it's because that meat, their skin is so thick, it's basically like padding. I mean, we had the cloth and the linens and things like that meant for covering and wrapping, but the sea cows are like for padding. I'm imagining. All right. Verse 21, the Gershonites. The Lord said to Moses, take a census also of all the Gershonites by their families and clans. Count all the men from 30 to 50 years of age who come to serve in the work at the tent of meeting. This is the service of the Gershonite clans as they work and carry burdens. They are to carry the curtains of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, its covering, and the outer covering of hides of sea cows, the curtains for the entrance of the tent of meeting, the curtains of the courtyard surrounding the tabernacle and altar, the curtain for the entrance, the ropes, and all the equipment used in its service. The Gershonites are to do all that needs to be done with these things. All their service, whether carrying or doing other work, is to be done under the direction of Aaron and his sons. You shall assign to them as their responsibility all they are to carry. This is the service of the Gershonite clans at the tent of meeting. Their duties are to be under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. And now the Merarites. Okay, Gershon, Kohath, Merari, Levi. I got it. It sounds a little bit different when you put the ites on the end there. All right, the Merarites. Count the Merarites by their clans and families. Count all the men from 30 to 50 years of age who come to serve in the work at the tent of meeting. This is their duty as they perform service at the tent of meeting, to carry the frames of the tabernacle, its crossbars, posts, and bases, as well as the posts of the surrounding courtyard with their bases, tent pegs, ropes, all their equipment, and everything related to their use. Assign to each man the specific thing he is to carry. This is the service of the Merarite clan as they work at the tent of meeting under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Now in verse 34, we are numbering. This is the numbering of the Levite clans. Moses, Aaron, and the leaders of the community counted the Kohathites by their clans and families. All the men from 30 to 50 years of age who came to serve in the work in the tent of meeting, counted by clans, was 2,750. This was the total of all those in the Kohathite clan who served in the tent of meeting. Moses and Aaron counted them according to the Lord's command through Moses. The Gershonites were counted by their clans and families. All the men from 30 to 50 years of age who came to serve in the work at the tent of meeting, counted by their clans and families, were 2,630. This was the total of those in the Gershonite clans who served at the tent of meeting. Moses and Aaron counted them according to the Lord's command. The Merarites were counted by their clans and families. All the men from 30 to 50 years of age who came to serve in the work at the tent of meeting, counted by their clans, were 3,200. This was the total of those in the Merarite clans. Moses and Aaron counted them according to the Lord's command through Moses. So Moses, Aaron, and the leaders of Israel counted all the Levites by their clans and families. All the men from 30 to 50 years of age who came to do the work of serving and carrying the tent of meeting numbered altogether 8,580. At the Lord's command through Moses, each was assigned his work and told what to carry. Thus they were counted as the Lord commanded Moses. Chapter 5, the purity of the camp. The Lord said to Moses, "Command the Israelites to send away from the camp anyone who has an infectious skin disease or a discharge of any kind, or who is ceremonially unclean because of a dead body. Send away male and female alike. Send them outside the camp so they will not defile the camp, where I dwell among them." The Israelites did this. They sent them outside the camp. They did just as the Lord had instructed. Now in verse 5, chapter 5 and 5, talk about restitution for wrong. Let me see, anything else? Oh yeah, here's some good questions. How big were these holy articles? Talk about chapter 4:15. The Ark of the Covenant and the altar of incense were roughly the same bulk as a modern living room chair. The 60 wooden pillars, which provided the framework for the outer court, were about 8.5 feet high and were probably the heaviest items. With thousands of men in 3 Levite clans, there was plenty of muscle to move the holy articles. 6 wagons also assisted them with transportation. Let's see, why would God kill people because they glanced at holy things? Through strict requirement like these, God impressed upon his people the seriousness of his holiness. These holy things symbolize the very presence of God. There was a real danger that the Kohathites themselves might grow careless or flippant toward the items while handling them. Okay. Why banish somebody for a condition he or she can't avoid? That's what I just read in chapter 5. Black Kinlaw's back. Good morning. Are you a night owl or an early bird? Welcome back. Welcome back. I got to give you something. Something that I could not give you while I was on the road. As soon as my emojis pop up, I'll let you have it. But yeah, right now you just caught me reading Numbers chapter 5. The Israelites are moving around trying to get to the promised land, and they got all these different groups, different tribes and clans organized and separated, and especially the holy ones, the priests, the ones separated. Am I buffering again? Why does it look like I'm buffering and I have an excellent connection? Makes me want to read extra slow. That way, if I get cut off, I'm still good. Let me know if I'm buffering, you guys, because I see the circle just moving around and around. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not. Oh, YouTube. You are such a headache sometimes. While I'm waiting for that circle to stop spinning. Oh yeah, it's buffering real bad. I see that I'm moving and I got frozen again. A little bit. Okay. Um, not really sure what I can do about it. Sometimes YouTube is nice to me, or OBS. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it wants to just let me buffer. I'm looking, I'm scrolling. I want to do this before I forget. Come on, laptop, don't let me down. Don't freeze up on me. Is it freezing up on me? Oh, okay, I see. That's why I'm always behind. Every time it buffers, it pauses the video and then it jumps up. But it stopped. On my end, it looks real bad. I'm going to ask you guys, refresh your page, because that's what I'm going to do in just a second. As soon as I find the thing that I'm looking for, can't find it. I'm so close. Where are you when I need you? Oh boy. Okay, I don't want to waste too much more time. Normally, when people are new and leave a comment, when people leave a comment or leave something in the chat and it's their first time, I like to give them something as a token of my appreciation. It's not popping up. Don't know why it's not popping up. So I'm not going to be able to give you what I wanted to give you, but I'm going to give you something just as good, hopefully. Normally, I give the gold star of participation to leave a comment, but right now, the only thing that's popping up is a piece of pie. So, since it's leap day, leap year, you get that special thing that's only going to come every 4 years. You get a piece of pie. I was trying to find you a gold star. It's not popping up in my emoji list, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. All right. Because I know people on the replay are like, what's going on? Get with it. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to refresh my page. And you guys can refresh your page too. Hopefully it will be no more buffering. And then I will jump right back into chapter 5. I'm persistent. I persist. I persist. Through challenges, technical difficulties, issues, it doesn't matter. I persist. I'm not going to give up. Because that's what I do on my channel. Okay, I'm still good on this side. Just waiting for YouTube now. I have such smooth days, and then I have really weird days like this. All right, I think I'm good. I think I'm done buffering. I refreshed my side. I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to leave it at that. Yo, you gave yourself some stars. That's okay. Okay, yeah. There you go. Now you got some stars and a slice of pie. But that's what you get for your first participation piece. And anyways, let me jump back into this Bible before this live stream starts doing something else crazy. Because I'm telling you, some days it's smooth as silk, and some days it's chop 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 choppy. Oh, start for me. Aw, gee, thanks. I'm participating too, so that's my gold star. All right, back to the purity of the camp. The purity of the camp. These Israelites, they are trying to be obedient to God. God has these rules set aside for them, not just to be, a bossy guy, like do this, do this. He's setting these people up and preparing them for a life in preparation for the Messiah to come. So they need to be living in a certain way. They need these rules. It's almost like kids, and I should know, I'm a very laid back parent. It's like the less rules I give my kids, they don't do right on their own. They don't. They just don't. The more leeway I give them, you give them an inch, they take a mile. But like, it seems like I hated the fact, well, like my mom wasn't super strict, but I was like, I'm never going to be a strict parent. I'm going to just be so nice to my kids. And they're not nice back. They're not. So it's like when you put those strict rules on there and those regulations and you give them those parameters, do this, don't do this, you can go this far and no further. That really does help kids learn discipline, what's expected of them, what's expected of you as a parent, and what's expected if something doesn't happen. I think it just makes for a more not a relaxed environment, but a more just more predictable environment. I'm talking about families, but I'm talking about the Bible too, because I'm asking my own questions. Why are there all these rules and regulations? And if it's easier for me as a parent to raise my child with these rules in place, these guidelines, that much more for the Israelites. I said a lot, and I'm still buffering, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't know why I'm buffering and why it's choppy, but Lord, just bless the live stream because I'm trying to get through. All right, we got restitution for wrong ways. Yes, restitution for wrong ways. This is chapter 5, verse 5. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, when a man or woman does wrongs another in any way is so unfaithful is unfaithful to the Lord, that person is guilty and must confess the sin he has committed. He must make full restitution for his wrong. Add 1/5 to it and give it all to the person he has wronged. But if that person has no close relative to whom restitution can be made for the wrong, the restitution belongs to the Lord and must be given to the priest along with the ram which atonement is made for him. All the sacred contributions the Israelites bring to a priest will belong to him. Each man's sacred gifts are his own, but what he gives to the priest will belong to the priest. Let's see, verse 11, it talks about the test for an unfaithful wife. Then the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, if a man's wife goes astray and is unfaithful to him by sleeping with another man, and this is hidden from her husband, and her impurity is undetected, since there is no witness against her, and she has not been caught in the act, and if the feelings of jealousy come over her husband, and he suspects his wife, and she is impure, or if he is jealous and suspects her even though she is not impure, then he is to take his wife to the priest. He must also take an offering of 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour on her behalf. He must not pour oil on it or put incense on it, because it is a grain offering for jealousy, a reminder offering to draw attention to guilt. Verse 16, the priest shall bring her and have her stand before the Lord. Then he shall take some holy water in a clay jar and put some dust from the tabernacle floor into the water. After the priest has had the woman stand before the Lord, he shall loosen her hair and place in her hands the reminder offering, the grain offering for jealousy, while he himself holds the bitter water that brings a curse. Then the priest shall put the woman under oath and say to her, if no other man has slept with you and you have not gone astray and become impure while married to your husband, may this bitter water that brings a curse not harm you. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband and you have defiled yourself by sleeping with another man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under this curse of the oath. May the Lord cause your people to curse and denounce you when he causes your thigh to waste away and your abdomen to swell. May this water that bring a curse enter your body so that your abdomen swells and your thighs waste away. Then the woman is to say, amen, so be it. Wow. First of all, I believe this is the first time that the term holy water is used in the Bible. If I'm wrong, and if you guys have heard it previous to this, either in Genesis or Exodus or Leviticus, let me know. But I think that is the first time that I've actually heard holy water being used and to be in the reason that it's used for something specific. So that's interesting. Before I go any further, I am going to jump over to this little section on the side that asks questions about what I just read. Let's see. Okay. Why should an innocent wife go through all this because of a suspicious husband? For her own protection. Well, that's it. For her own protection. This test actually functioned as a protective measure for a woman falsely accused of having an affair. Without it, the furious husband might harm her, even kill her. The law served as a deterrent against private acts of vengeance and retribution, and ensured justice in a potentially explosive situation. I would not have thought of it that way. What did it mean to have a swollen abdomen and a thigh wasted away? This is a figurative language for infertility. It indicates physical malady or reproductive problem that would prevent a woman from bearing children. How would bitter water accurately prove or disprove adultery? God superintended the entire process. Some suggest the process itself may have created enough guilt and shame, if she was guilty, of course, to cause infertility, the ultimate disgrace for a woman during this era. Others see the acrid water as a symbol of the bitterness the woman would face if found guilty. Were all the childless women thought to be cursed for adultery? Not necessarily for adultery, but for some kind of disobedience to the Lord. The Israelites viewed the inability to have children as a divine punishment for personal sin. God's word, however, does not make such blanket generalizations. Sarah, for example, bore disgrace for decades. Yeah, remember Abraham's wife? Though later she was called holy. Let's see. Why wasn't there a test for the adulterous man? Good question. The test shielded the woman from the husband. In this male-dominated culture, women were especially vulnerable to domestic violence. Men simply didn't need the same protection against false accusations. However, if adultery was discovered, the penalty was the same for both the man and the woman, death. And that is going back to Leviticus 20 and 10. All right, let's jump back in. Verse 23. The priest is to write these curses on a scroll and then wash them off into the bitter water. He shall have the woman drink the bitter water that brings a curse, and this water will enter her and cause bitter suffering. The priest is to take from her hands the grain offering for jealousy, wave it before the Lord, and bring it to the altar. The priest is then to take a handful of the grain offering as a memorial offering and burn it on the altar. After that, he is to have the woman drink the water. If she has defiled herself and been unfaithful to her husband, then when she is made to drink the water that brings a curse, it will go into her and cause bitter suffering. Her abdomen will swell and her thighs waste away, and she will become accursed among her people. If, however, the woman has not defiled her husband and is free from impurity, she will be cleared of guilt and will be able to have children. This then is the law of jealousy when a woman goes astray and defiles herself while married to her husband, or when feelings of jealousy come over a man because he suspects his wife. The priest is to have her stand before the Lord and is to apply this entire law to her. The husband will be innocent of any wrongdoing, but the woman will bear the consequences of her sin. There you go. All right. All right, no more movement in the chat. Hopefully no more buffering. All right, let's move on to chapter 6, which is the last chapter of today. This particular reading, if you notice, it seems to me, is a little bit longer than that one, just because I've got the questions on the side that I'm trying to parallel with the actual reading. All right, let's get to it. Chapter 9 talked about the Nazarite. Who is the Nazarite? The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if a man or woman wants to make a special vow, a vow of separation to the Lord as a Nazirite, he must abstain from wine and other fermented drink, and must not drink vinegar made from wine or from other fermented drink. He must not drink grape juice or eat grapes or raisins. As long as he is a Nazirite, he must not eat anything that comes from the grapevine, not even the seeds or skins. Nazirite. Samson, right? The name seems familiar the more that I say it. Samson was a Nazirite, wasn't he? The one with the long hair and the strength. Let's see, verse 3. Verse 5. During the entire period of his vow of separation, no razor may be used on his head. He must be holy until the period of his separation to the Lord is over. He must let the hair of his head grow long. Throughout the period of separation to the Lord, he must not go near a dead body. Even if his own father or mother or brother or sister dies, he must not make himself ceremonially unclean on account of them, because the symbol of his separation to God is on his head. Throughout the period of his separation, he is consecrated to the Lord. If someone dies suddenly in his presence, thus defiling the hair he has dedicated, he must shave his head on the day of his cleansing, the seventh day. Then on the 8th day, he must bring 2 doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest is to offer one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering to make atonement for him because he sinned by being in the presence of the dead body. That same day he is to consecrate his head. He must dedicate himself to the Lord for the period of his separation and must bring a 1-year-old lamb as a guilt offering. The previous days do not count because he became defiled during his separation. Now, this is the law for the Nazirite. When the period of his separation is over, he is to be brought to the entrance to the tent of meeting. There he is to present his offerings to the Lord: a 1-year-old male lamb without defect for a burnt offering, a 1-year-old ewe lamb without defect for a sin offering, a ram without defect for a fellowship offering, together with their grain offering and drink offering, and a basket of bread made without yeast, cakes made of fine flour mixed with oil, and wafers pressed with oil. The priest is to present them before the Lord and make the sin offering and the burnt offering. He is to present the basket of unleavened bread and is to sacrifice the ram as a fellowship offering to the Lord, together with its grain offering and drink offering. Then at the entrance to the tent of meeting, the Nazirite must shave off the hair that he dedicated. He is to take the hair and put it in the fire that is under the sacrifice of the fellowship offering. After the Nazirite has shaved off the hair of his dedication, the priest is to place in his hands a boiled shoulder of the ram and a cake and a wafer from the basket, both made without yeast. The priest shall then wave them before the Lord as a wave offering. I don't know why that's funny, Lord. Forgive me. Forgive me. I didn't know there were so many different offerings and a wave offering. So just wave. Just a wave offering. I'm sorry. That is funny to me. It's funny because I don't understand, and it's funny because it sounds funny. Okay, so the priest shall then wave them before the Lord as a wave offering. They are holy and belong to the priest, together with the breast that was waved and the thigh that was presented. After that, the Nazirite may drink wine. This is the law of the Nazirite, who vows his offering to the Lord in accordance with his separation, in addition to whatever else he can afford. He must fulfill the vow he has made according to the law of Nazirite. What is a Nazirite and why? To me, that sounds like a monk. Like, a monk when they go up on a mountain and just live apart and all they do is pray and meditate. Or who else does that? I can't think of who else. There's a little dictionary here and I'm going to see if I can find it. But yeah, now that I think about it, Samson was a Nazirite. What is the point and purpose of a Nazirite? It says here, a Nazirite is one who demonstrated total consecration to the Lord by taking a vow of separation and abstinence for the purpose of some special service. The three standard prohibitions were abstaining from grape products, from haircuts, and from contact with dead bodies. And that's all it says. Total dedication, one who demonstrated total consecration to the Lord by taking a vow of separation and abstinence. So it's just a personal thing. It says for some special service, but I'm not sure why. Maybe that's something else to do some research on. Let's see. Oh, I didn't have to go to the dictionary. It's right here. What was a Nazarite? The term Nazarite means dedicated one or set apart. A Nazarite was an individual, male or female, who made an extraordinary vow to God, an extra show of commitment to the Lord. The Mishnah, the Jewish digest of oral law, mentions the typical vow as 30 days, though longer periods were not uncommon. Some even took the vow for a lifetime. For example, Samson in Judges 13 through 14. Those who took a Nazarite vow participated in all aspects of family life except for caring for the burial of a dead relative. Why should they stay away from wine, grape juice, grapes, and raisins? It's unclear. It may be because the fruit of the vine symbolized sensual enjoyment. So abstaining from these pleasures of life, though not evil in themselves, demonstrated a great sacrifice to God. Why would a Nazarite be guilty if someone died in his presence? The Nazarite's vow strictly forbade any and all contact with the dead. Their lifestyle depicted to the Israelite people the ultimate act of devotion to God. Rules were rules, so even if the contact was accidental, contamination had taken place. The infraction required that the individual be restored to God's standard of holiness. And then finally, why all the different types of offerings? And then it's telling me to see the notes in the offering about offerings in Leviticus 1 through 7, which I covered a couple weeks ago. All right, let's talk about some priestly blessings. Y'all still here with me? Good. Let's see. The Lord said to Moses in verse 22. We are in chapter 6. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you're to bless the Israelites. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. So they will put my name on the Israelites and I will bless them." And that's it. One final question from chapter 6. In what way did the priest put God's name on the Israelites? The priest simply pronounced to the people the blessings associated with God's name. The name Yahweh, translated as Lord, was employed by the priest for this blessing. God's name expressed his character. It signified his ongoing relationship with his people and his willingness to act on their behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, I have now completed the reading of Numbers 4 through 6 using the Quest Study Bible. I don't know why, but it seemed like it was a little bit more tongue-tied with this one. Comparatively reading, this one does seem a little bit more straightforward and easier to read. This one didn't have like any old-fashioned type wording, but it was just a little, it seemed like the words were a little bit switched around in some places where I was stumbling. So I just thought I'd point that out. If you guys didn't notice it, then fine. But they're both easy reads, but this one I think is still, I'm able to, my reading flow is a little bit smoother. And this one I feel like I need to slow down and really kind of like concentrate on what I'm reading there. That is the reading for today, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about some numbers. We did a little bit more counting of people, which was the Kohathites, Goshemites, and Merarites. Merarites from the Kohath clan, Goshen clan, and Merari clan. And it seems like somebody else. Oh yeah, and then the Nazarites, which I don't think we're from a specific clan. It was just a thing. Like, this is what you want to be. You want to be separate from an already separate people. Whew, thank you guys for your patience. I'm not gonna move back out to my where my router is. That's where I have the best connection because I can literally plug into my router. But you guys know how it is trying to read the Bible with cats around. So bear with me. And hopefully, the tomorrow will be a better reading. Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's not so smooth. Not really sure what I can do to keep it smooth. But if you guys know, hey, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Okay, thank you so much. Shout out to the Wiz and Black Kinlaw for hanging out with me in the. Let me make sure I didn't forget anybody. I did refresh my page. I think Life of Key was in here, or was that yesterday I'm thinking of? But if I missed your name and you were in the live stream, I apologize. Sometimes I lose people's names when I refresh the page. But thank you so much for supporting me in the live stream. Thank you for the thumbs up. That really does let YouTube know what a fine job I'm doing. And when you guys participate in the chat, YouTube does see that. They're like, hey, this live stream is active. People are enjoying themselves. They're sticking around. They're participating, and it just helps me to become more recommended, more recognized, so that other people can find the channel. And the more people, the more the merrier. The more people that want to listen to the Bible and help me out, help me understand different things. Maybe you have a different understanding. Maybe you were taught something different. Maybe you're just reading from a different Bible, and so it's explained differently. Oh, real quick. So I don't have my phone on me. Oh, but I got my laptop right here. So yesterday, like I said, I was reading the book of Daniel at work. Actually, that was the night before. And this might be a topic for a whole other video. But just a show of hands, who knew that the Bible didn't just come like as is, like boom, like, the Ten Commandments. It wasn't just like this is the Bible. I mean, there's books of the Bible. We know that, right? But those were literally different books. This is like a compilation. This is a compilation. This is a compilation of holy scriptures, and these are based off of like in even deeper things. So let me see if I can get this right. There's something called the Septuagint. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Apocrypha, the Septuagint, and some other ones that's like from the Koine Greek, from Hebrew, from Aramaic, and I want to say from another language, because there's different languages spoken in different time periods, and the different people were in different areas geographically. But I had no idea. I had no idea there was so many translations from Aramaic to Greek to Latin, or from the Roman Emperor time to did I say Hebrew? I might have missed Hebrew. To something else. I think maybe even German at one point, because somebody came from somewhere and brought something in. I mean, wow. I just thought that was fascinating. If you're interested in me doing deeper studies or like a video on that, let me know. I know it's not business related. At this point, my channel is whatever I want it to be. So anyways, I will be making more business related videos, but I just thought that was really, really interesting. To know that there is such a history, such a rich history behind the Bible. And here's another thing. So I was reading up some stuff like, how do you know that the Bible is real? And from the research that I was looking at, it's like there's all these different people from all these different time periods, all basically having the same experience or a similar spiritual experience or some type of spiritual revelation. These people are thousands of miles apart sometimes, in thousands of, not thousands, but generations and generations apart. And they're all writing something similar that when it comes together, it is a cohesive idea. Like, that's not possible. That's not possible unless it's divine. I mean, even if me and, my best friend were to try to come up with something, her idea might be the same as mine, but in the end, it's going to be exactly. And then if I try to have my friend from back in the day, we trying to put the story together, they're going to have a different experience. And then somebody over here in a different state, they're trying to write something to come together. It's going to be some kind of inconsistency. But yeah, I just thought that was different, interesting. And one last thing, I was talking to my pops yesterday. One like six watching. Where's the other five? Um, oh, talk about the likes. I don't know. Let me see. I hadn't even looked. I got three views. It says me I got three people looking at three views. I don't know. Is that what you were asking? My one last thing is I was talking to my pops yesterday, who is an avid Bible reader. I would love for him to come on the line, but he's got some personal issues going on right now. So I look forward to him joining in because I mean he will make your mind just go like what? Because that's what I'm like every time I'm on the phone with him. So the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about unleavened bread, right? Like especially when the Israelites are supposed to make certain sacrifices, it's like make little patty cakes, not patty cakes. Nah, I'm making pupusas, pita bread, not pita bread, flat bread. So he's like, make your little flat bread. Don't put any yeast in it because you got flat bread and then you got bread, like Wonder White or whatever wheat bread. I don't, big nice fluffy bread. And then also Jesus was also talking about, beware of the yeast. And the yeast was really representing the Pharisees, right? And I'm like, what's this thing with the yeast? And in my mind, I'm just thinking, okay, don't put in anything extra to make it like, let's keep it basic. And that's basically what my dad was telling me yesterday. He was like, yeast can symbolize, I'm sorry, I've got congestion. Yeast can symbolize uh, pride and ego. So keeping it basic, keeping it simple, just water, salt, flour, that's your bread. When you put in that yeast and it starts bubbling up, bubbling up, bubbling up, getting the big head, it's more than necessary. So when these sacrifices were called for, that's probably why God didn't want the adulteration of yeast. He's like, just make simple bread. Just simple, just keep it simple. Simple bread, no yeast. We don't want any outside influence making it bigger than it needs to be. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting that my dad said that unleavened bread symbolizes humbleness and humility, and then regular bread is just basically man. Just the ego, the growth of the ego. A little ego goes a long way. A little bit of yeast goes a long way. Okay, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. I know sometimes with the buffering, I'm even watching myself on the side. I'm watching myself on the side. When I'm looking at myself in the camera, I'm clear. And then over here, I am looking like Mr. Robotico. And so, thank you for your continued patience. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Lord, thank you for my continued patience. Thank you for my patience, Lord, because between what's going on in my life and what's going on this live stream, it's a lot of buffering, it's a lot of infiltration, it's a lot of interference. But I'm learning to trust that no matter what, everything is working out for your good, for my good, as long as I'm keeping your will in mind. Just chill out and have faith, and everything gonna be all right. Bless everybody in the live stream and on the replay. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. Ciao. Oh, wrong button. Oh, Lord have mercy.